What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers are not expected to give Rui Hachimura a extension this offseason, which makes sense. Lakers want to preserve cap space for 2026 and 2027. That's the talk. That's the word. I don't really buy it. I've talked about this, right? Like, if DeAndre Ayton works out, he's getting a new contract. If Austin Reeves, he's expected to get $30+ million. If Jake LaRavia works out, then you're probably giving him a new extension going into next year, which, yeah, that'll kick in the 2027 season. But still, like, you have several guys on this roster. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Adu Thero will be going into his last season, not next season, but the year after that, right? So, like, he's going to need a new contract. Like, it doesn't really add up to me. Right? And chances are, if you're going to land a Giannis or a Jokic or something like that, it's probably going to be via trade. It's probably my guess. I mean, obviously, look, if the Lakers know, and I've talked about this before, like maybe they do, right? Especially with Jokic. If anyone would know if Jokic is really thinking about leaving, it would be Luka, his best friend, right? Now, if you're the Lakers and you know, hey, Jokic might just leave and go to the Lakers, well then, yeah, if you're the Lakers, you do whatever you can to make that situation happen, right? One, for Luka and to keep Luka happy. Two, you'd probably be the best team in all of basketball with those two guys. Could you imagine those? I mean, that could be potentially all-time great duo, right? It would be terrifying. But with Rui Hachimura, he very well might be the kind of casualty because one, right, Rui Hachimura, he's already making, over 18 million. What's his next contract going to be and look like? And as like just kind of a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, which he is more than that, but that's kind of what he's been relegated to in a lot of ways. He has been much better at moving without the basketball over the years. He's done a great job, to his credit, done a phenomenal job of kind of molding and shaping himself into a 3. He's still, I think, a 4, but he has done as good of a job as you can at kind of converting into that position and playing that role for the Lakers, right? I would love to keep Rui Hachimura long term, but I just think he's going to be kind of a casualty of the situation type thing. And I don't think that they're going to give him a new extension. Could they give him a new contract next season? It's very possible, or maybe work out a sign and trade or something. But also, what kind of money is he looking at, right? If he's and still is okay with being in that like 18 million range, then fine, sure. But if he wants like 25 million plus, problem is you just can't give him over what he's making now. And you could argue maybe not, he might be slightly overpaid just because he's not a 3 Andy. He's just a 3. I mean, he's one of the better in the league at it, but he's a liability there defensively. And it's like, how long can you get away with him starting, right? At some point, you're probably going to need to move him off the bench, right? Well, on the other side of things, right? See what happens with Rui Hachimura, as I mentioned. But on the other side of things, something that would be great is getting young, athletic, and versatile, particularly at that spot, in place of Rui Hachimura, and maybe even a guy that could slot in and take over for LeBron James at the 4, a guy that could kind of play that 3-4, do Thero, you got Jake LaRavia, but it would be nice to kind of get that other guy. Well, if you look at a team that resides in California, in the Golden State Warriors, you have Jonathan Kuminga, and the Warriors are in this spot that I don't really understand. I think that they've gotten some pretty decent offers. Originally, the offers were terrible. It was like, Devin Carter and like just basically just salary filler and then, like a heavily protected first. But now like teams like Sacramento are like, hey, here's Malik Monk and a first. It's like, that's pretty good for a guy that you're probably just going to lose, right? And then even the Phoenix Suns are willing to give you like Nick Richards and, and other pieces in order to go and land a Jonathan Kuminga. It's like, again, you could do worse than things like that. So to me, I don't really get what the Warriors are doing. I just think if anything, all they're doing is hurting Steph Curry, right? Supposedly you have guys like DeAnthony Melton, Al Horford, Gary Payton II. You have these guys that are expected to sign and are trying to sign with the Warriors, but they can't until you get this Jonathan Kuminga situation situated, right? And there's kind of more and more buzz, more and more reports coming out that Jonathan Kuminga, he feels like he is a pawn. He feels like, the Warriors contract, which it is, right? But he feels like the Warriors contract that they're offering is simply just to be able to make it easier to trade him. And he's like, no, like if you're going to give me a short-term deal, right? Like just to trade me, why would I sign that? Which I do completely get. Like if you want to give me a long-term deal and then trade me, then fine. But you're going to give me a short-term deal just so you could trade me? Then no, I'd rather get to choose my destination. I'd rather get to, I'd rather just take the qualifying offer, bet on myself and then go sign somewhere next season, right? Well, supposedly, that is probably what's going to happen. It looks like it's shaping up that Jonathan Kuminga is going to sign the qualifying offer. Probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. He'll probably do it like right before, getting into training camp or something. Unless the Warriors do kind of up their offer, right? If they're willing to give him like a 3-year deal or something, but they want to give him 2 years with like a team option, all this stuff. It just doesn't make sense for Jonathan Kuminga, right? Unless you're giving him like some insane money. Like if they were offering him like 2 years, $80 million, then if you're Jonathan Kuminga, it's like, sure, like at worst I get $40 million and I just go sign a new contract if they get off of me, right? Like, but that's not the case. It's like he's making basically what every team in the league would probably give him, which is like 20 to 22.5 million a year. So it's not like the Warriors are giving him an offer that no other teams would be willing to give him, right? He basically could get that anywhere, but he could also get longer deals with teams. Well, if he takes the qualifying offer, there are kind of rumors going around, and it would make sense. That's why I wanted to talk about this. There are kind of rumors going around that Jonathan Kuminga, if he takes the qualifying offer, wants to go to the Lakers, that his camp and his agent and everything kind of want him and like the idea of him in Los Angeles. Now, obviously, all this stuff is just rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, we don't know this until the situation comes, but does make sense, right? Jonathan Kuminga, right, is going to, if he takes the qualifying offer, that is a huge sign that could end up happening next offseason, right? Because Jonathan Kuminga, if he takes the qualifying offer, now next offseason, he'd be an unrestricted free agent, which means he could go wherever he wants, right? But the problem is most teams don't have salary space. You know who would? The Los Angeles Lakers. So Jonathan Kuminga could end up just going to the Lakers, and the Lakers could just sign him outright. And if you're the Lakers, it actually makes more sense to sign Jonathan Kuminga to, $20 million a year than it would Rui Hachimura to $20 million a year, right? Like, let's say you have to give Rui Hachimura the $22.5 million, right? 2 years, $22.5 million, or you give Jonathan Kuminga that same contract. If you're the Lakers, it actually makes more sense to give it to Jonathan Kuminga because he's more athletic. He gives you the same level of offense. I mean, the guys can't stay in front of him. The guy is an absolute bucket. The three-point shooting is where the concern lies, but he has more upside, greater star potential, that lob threat, that athletic wing that you could slot in alongside Luka Doncic. You could slot him at the 3. You could slot him at the 4. So even if LeBron does leave next offseason, right, you could easily slide Jonathan Kuminga to the 4 if you want to, or a Dude Thero, or Jake LaRavia, or whomever, right? It just gives you another 6'7", 6'8", versatile guy that can defend 1 through 4 for you, gives you that athleticism. He's going to be incredibly motivated. He's going to be incredibly hungry, and he's a guy that could potentially be a star. He's also like 3 years younger than Rui Hachimura. So again, like, it would make more sense. So if you're the Lakers and it's like, okay, well, we could either A, give Rui Hachimura an extension right now, or B, we could go and sign Jonathan Kuminga in the offseason and give us a young foundation piece to slot in alongside Luka Doncic for the next 8 years. Right? And then, again, if DeAndre Ayton ends up working out, right, you're starting to put your core and pieces together. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, now you have, Austin Reeves, you have Luka Doncic, you have DeAndre Ayton, you have Jonathan Kuminga, you got Jake LaRavia, Adu Thero, Bronny James. You got a really good, young, athletic, versatile core. Right, that could be very good slotted alongside Luka Doncic, especially if that DeAndre Ayton two-man game really works, and if Austin Reeves kind of do his thing, and you'd also have pieces to where you could go and pony up and make a trade for a Giannis or a Jokic or whatever. Also, Jonathan Kuminga, worst case, would give you potentially a better asset trade-wise than Rui Hachimura, because Jonathan Kuminga is younger, has more upside, and if he does kind of start to unlock that a little bit with the Lakers, playing alongside Luka Doncic, now all of a sudden you have a package of Austin Reeves, Jonathan Kuminga, 3 first-round picks, you got to do Thero, right? You got these pieces that now you can kind of packaged together to now go get a more favorable player in a Giannis Antetokounmpo or a Nikola Jokic or whatever. Or you let all the other money fall off the books and you have Jonathan Kuminga and, like a Jonathan Kuminga and a Luka Doncic and Osiri's on a new contract that now you could go and trade, right? And assign and trade for a Jokic or a Giannis. So that way that team doesn't just lose him for nothing. And now all of a sudden, now you got that core. Like let's say it's Giannis. Now all of a sudden you got, DeAndre Ayton, Giannis, Jonathan Kuminga and Luka Doncic as your core. Like you could go with like a Jared Vanderbilt or something like that at your 2 or whatever. Now you're probably the best team in all of basketball. So even from that perspective, so it would make sense. But also if you're the Lakers, right? Because there's kind of 2 ways to look at this. You have the allure of like, hey, we're trying to preserve cap space. We're not saying we're not going to sign Rui Hachimura to a new contract, this, that, and the other, right? Kind of show face, right? We just want to keep our options open, be flexible, right? Okay. Supposedly the Lakers want to see what a Rui Hachimura can do with this current roster, right? And look, maybe he's great. Maybe the Lakers sign him. Maybe they bring in both. Who knows, right? Depends on what the cap space looks like. If LeBron leaves and they have all this cap, maybe they sign both. Maybe Rui's like, hey, you know what? If I can go back and play the 4, I'll take $17 million a year, right? And now you can get him and get maybe a Jonathan Kuminga on like $20 million. And now you got Kuminga, Rui, DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, right? It gives you options. But either, like the Lakers would be in good shape regardless because if, let's say Kuminga does sign a new extension this year, well, then good. If you're the Lakers, one, you could always just go trade for him at the trade deadline. But if, let's say he does become unavailable, let's say he signs a long-term deal. Okay, well, if you're the Lakers, it's like, well, we can just keep Rui Hachimura. Doesn't hurt, right? However, if he doesn't sign the qualifying offer, he does sign the qualifying offer, right? And he does become a free agent, right? Well, now if he wants to come, you can just sign him. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say he goes and he signs elsewhere, right? You got other teams. I mean, Clippers are going to have a ton of cap space. You got the Brooklyn Nets. You got several teams that will have cap space. So let's say he goes and signs with one of those teams. You're not, SOL, right? It's just like, hey, let's just sign Rui. And you have Rui's bird rights and all that stuff. So you can keep Rui. And look, it doesn't have to necessarily be, like I mentioned, one or the other. It's just, it would kind of make sense. Like if you could get Kuminga, right, and depending on how things shape up, you're better off signing Jonathan Kuminga and letting Rui walk than signing Rui and missing out on Kuminga, right? Because Kuminga he'd be more versatile for you, especially alongside Luka, and he's younger and he has greater upside and he does have real star potential. He just needs a role. He just needs to kind of find his footing and fit. And I do think on a team like the Lakers, I do think he could really thrive. I mean, look at like what Derrick Jones Jr. did. Like, this was a guy that was like the 15th man on the bench for the Chicago Bulls and then goes to Dallas and becomes literally the premier like 3-and-D wing that season for the Dallas Mavericks, right? And was a huge component in them getting to the NBA Finals, right? Because again, like, you get a role, you get around the right pieces or on the right team and all that. You look at a team, again, like the Los Angeles Lakers, I think it makes a lot of sense if you're Jonathan Kuminga to want to go to a team like the Lakers. Not just that, but especially if you're thinking about doing like a smaller deal, right? Like let's say you're willing to do like the Warriors level deal. It's like 2 years or maybe 1 year because the Lakers might want to keep the cap space for 2027. So if you were ever going to do like a 1 year, $20 million or $18 million contract, it would probably be with the Lakers. Right, because you're just going to get more attention. You're going to get a brighter spotlight. If you're really good, slot alongside Luka Doncic, that's going to look really good for you, period. Now, all of a sudden, you look up and it's like you're getting, contract offers from other teams and stuff. We've seen guys like Malik Monk and things like that you just get a brighter spotlight being on the Lakers, right? So it is something that, again, is just rumor, right? But it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's a rumor that I could genuinely see, and to me, it really boils down if he takes the qualifying offer. If Jonathan Kuminga takes the qualifying offer, then that I think is a great sign that this could be accurate, right? And again, if you're Jonathan Kuminga and his camp, you probably want him to go to the Lakers, right? Like I mentioned, just to have the spotlight, to have the shine, to have like the, hey, and not just that, but I mean, if think of what it would do for his career and stuff, period, if he actually does become that star level guy and he does it on the Lakers, right? Get to be a part of that long line of Lakers greats. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.